Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and I'm thrilled to be here in Havana, Cuba for the very first time, visiting this beautiful city with several of my good friends and fellow cigar enthusiasts from London. We've come for the 23rd Festival del Habano, the most important event in the world for Cuban cigars, and of course, to explore the many examples of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition that are to be found within Cuban culture and amongst the people of this beautiful island. So join me as we travel to Havana, Cuba to explore the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition of this beautiful island and their incredible cigars. Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and I'm so excited to be joining you today from Havana, Cuba, with two of my dear friends, Edward and Eddie Sahakian. Here we are finally in Cuba together in one another's company, which we've enjoyed so much, and with the opportunity to finally smoke Cuban cigars together here where they were born. Gentlemen.
6 years ago, I think we were talking about a trip like this in London, sitting in the shop, in Davidoff's shop there. And to be honest, I thought that that would be just a dream that will never happen. And yet again, we are here, we're in Havana.
Who could have
it's
imagined?
Such a delight to be in your company. Thank you so much I know for you to get here is a real struggle. It's not all that easy. And it's a pleasure, a joy for Eddie and myself to be here in your company, Kirby.
Well, the honor is mine. And this is, it's gonna take weeks for me to fully appreciate just how incredible of a week this will have been. You know, being in Cuba, being in Havana, being amongst, legends and connoisseurs of, the best tobacco, the finest tobacco in the world. And then being able to actually get out into the fields, into the factories, and truly for me, for the first time, see the genesis, the birthplace of how these magnificent cigars, which we've enjoyed so much together in each other's company, are created.
Kirby, they say nothing beats a Cuban cigar in Cuba in the taste, but I want to add to that. Nothing beats a Cuban cigar in Cuba with Kirby.
Kirby, absolutely.
Well, and likewise with you two gentlemen. I thought at great lengths about this moment of, what would be the first cigar I smoke in Cuba with Edward and Eddie. And it's one of those things where you can't ever come to that determination. So I had to pack several cigars, and I guess we'll see which one calls out my name in this moment. To enjoy, in your, of course, great company here in Cuba. So, Edward, you're always with the cigar. I think is this the same one from morning? But what should we smoke?
Kirby, why don't you show us what you have and let's have a think about.
Well, I brought a few special things and, some things that, are favorites of mine. It's funny because there's so many Cuban cigars in Cuba, but they're all so young. In many cases, probably just rolled within days, if not weeks. And so to bring something back with a little bit of an age was a recommendation that you two made the last time we were in London. So I went through my humidor and I was thinking to myself, what is it that I could bring that is special enough to smoke on this occasion that I've been looking forward to for so long. So you'll have to help me decide because this is a true, these are my finest vintages, if you will. So Bolivar, this is, of course, one of my favorite labels. This is kind of where it all started for me. And I want to say that the first Bolivar gold medal I ever enjoyed, may have been purchased from the shop in London. This is a tremendously hard cigar to find. I don't think it's made anymore. And so I've been able to acquire a few boxes. And so these are, very special treats for me.
That's a magical cigar.
Yeah, here, take a look at that. And actually, tomorrow night they're releasing, I guess they're re-releasing the Bolivar Gold Medal. And I'm happy to say that it's grown a little bit since the last time we've seen it. I think it's a 48 ring gauge now by 5 or 6.5 inches.
Is that called inflation?
Yes. Hey, well, you know what? At least you're getting more for what you're spending now.
Very true.
And then
I've seen those, yes.
another.
I find that the original, at the time when they came out, I always found that they were slightly stronger in flavor to my liking. I mean, it's a Bolivar, obviously, and it's a full flavor for a blend. Although that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a 42 ring gauge. But still, it was strong. But it'll be interesting to have your opinion if you choose to smoke that one.
I wonder how much they've mellowed. I mean, time mellows us all, including our cigars.
Oh, tell me more about it.
This was a gift from a good friend of ours in London, Sherry. This is a Bolivar. This is, I think, one of the first regionals that they did for the Middle East, right? Proper.
That's a legendary cigar. And it's a double Corona, if I'm not mistaken. I think from 07, perhaps?
07. Okay.
Wow.
It feels, I mean, I don't know, you have to put this in your fingers. Your fingers are probably a little bit better.
Kirby, I confess I've never seen one in the flesh.
Ooh. Well,
So
maybe.
this is a first for me.
Special cigar. And then I know tomorrow we're going to the El Laguito factory, and we're going to be meeting with Ricardo Riviera, who created El Laguito #1, and really, I mean, as much of a part of that, brands and that factory's history as anyone. And so this is the Behike 54. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And I have to confess, I haven't smoked very many of these, maybe one or two. I'm not much of a Behike connoisseur.
It's a big cigar.
Yeah.
It is a big cigar,
Quite
to be
strong,
honest, especially the 56 ring gauge, even the 54. The 52, you could just about get away with it comfortably, but the 54 and the 56, it's a large ring gauge.
May I take a look at it?
Please.
I have the pleasure of handling them occasionally, but I probably smoke them even less frequently than you do, Kirby. There's so few of these around. What are you leaning towards?
Well, Edward, any recommendations?
If it was up to me to decide, I would say smoke the Bolivar Gold.
Gold medal? Well, there we go. That's a good choice. I'll say
I might disagree with my father on this occasion,
Okay.
if I may, because the Behike story is so unique, and who you're seeing tomorrow is so important. Dare I say the ashtray is probably hinting something as well.
That's right.
Why
Get
not?
me.
Why not have a Behike so you have an opinion on it, very current opinion when you meet,
Well,
Listen to Eddie, he's always right.
and there'll be one less
yes,
to
well,
be tempted by.
he's got the wisdom of both you and his mother, so I guess that gives him a slight edge on. But I think I might take your recommendation. I mean, I haven't smoked enough of these to really even be able to recall the last time I had one and what it smoked like. And I have to say, the opportunity, the privilege of meeting Eduardo Riviera, I'm hoping it still happens, because they say in Cuba, you never really know until it does. But I might do this as a little bit of research, should we say.
I think so.
And you can help tutor me through this and, let me know what it is I should be picking up on.
Well, if there's any place you have to smoke that cigar, this is the place to do it.
Well, if you don't mind me,
Please,
doing the honors. Eddie, I see that you have a few things right here.
I do. I do.
My trusty El Casco. I even travel with this thing. It's ridiculous.
I'm tempted to use it myself.
And this is the new SD DuPont Gold Dust that I got. I treated myself to this. We've just started selling SD DuPont, on the website, and I had them overnight these lighters to us.
That was and still is my favorite finish of the DuPonts. The gold dust, there's something magical.
Isn't it really?
Next time you're in London, remind me to show you my DuPont watch that
really?
I have with the gold dust lying on
Wow.
it. Yep.
And it has this brown that just kind of makes me think of tobacco.
That's that. And then the lacquering process they use is exquisite on top of that. So you have something really special there.
Edward, I must confess, every single time I rush the lighting process, I think of I hear your voice in the back of my head, reminding me that I'm doing it incorrectly, and I'm shortchanging my,
Well,
the
you're
experience.
definitely doing it correctly now.
So, Eddie, talk a little bit about what you have there, because I know that's
Well,
another.
I'm super excited, actually. Truthfully, it's the Monte Cristo Open Slam, and this cigar is a new addition to the Open series from Monte Cristo. The launch party was last night, and of course we were very fortunate to be gifted in this lovely packaging. And it's a 52 by 5 5/8. It's, I forget the name of the factory, the size for it, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I wonder how they come up with those factory size names. Like, is there a list somewhere, a Bible?
Oh, yeah. We have the chart in the shop
Oh, do you?
on the wall.
Thank you.
But who comes up with them, right? I mean,
Or when did they come up with them? Like, is this, has this been
Gracias, signorina. Muchas gracias.
cafecito? I figured since it's mid-afternoon, maybe.
Absolutely.
Gracias.
Now, I did remember the size. It's an idílicos,
Idílicos.
which I presume in my pidgin Spanish means some sort of idyllic.
It's ideal. I don't know.
It's an ideal size.
That virgin puff. So, Edward, I guess school me a little bit on the history of the Behike, because this, within the range of Cohibas, was quite revolutionary at the time when this came out.
Well, at the time when it came out, the original one was the Behike that came in the boxes of 14 a box, a limited edition,
Yes.
which was a beautiful cigar, still is, if you find them. And the follow-up of that was the regular production in 3 sizes, the 52 ring gauge, which was called the Behike 52, the 54 ring gauge size, which is called the Behike 54, and the Behike 56. The reason that it's so rare, there is one element of extra tobacco leaf incorporated in the blending, which is the media
Tempo.
tempo, and which makes it so special. As a matter of fact, it's so special that they can only make the cigar when those leaves are available, and that's one of the reasons that it's in such a small quantity produced, and there's such a great demand for it and such a market, which is incredible.
And what was it that was so special about the medio tiempo?
I'm not mistaken. I mean, firstly, it's scarce, it's rare, and it comes from the very top of the plant. It's the top trimmings, smaller leaves than usual. And that brings a certain strength and personality to the blend.
But every plant doesn't have that as well, from what I was told.
No. So only certain
Some plants have it, many
don't.
plants don't.
I was just going to say, I remember the first one I smoked around the release time. It was, I believe, 2010. It was a Behike 56, which is large for my usual consumption. And it was the end of a trip here in Cuba. And we had a beautiful dinner. I lit the cigar, started smoking it, and I observed, actually, I thought it was extremely light flavor. It was delicious, but surprisingly light. All the story of the medio tiempo, I was expecting something more like a Bolivar. And then I got about halfway through. And although the flavor profile didn't get harsh or peppery or too strong, I felt like I'd been drugged. I kid you not, I thought someone had slipped something into my cigar.
Well, that's funny because the whole, genesis of the Cohiba line was to prevent that from happening. It's amazing really what Habanos is able to do. I mean, here we are in a country that has so many constraints, kind of working against it, yet, they're able to continue to produce what to this day, despite tremendous competition and efforts by other countries, the best cigars, at least in my humble opinion, some of the best cigars in the world.
I'm happy now that you've seen it yourself, that how difficult it is to get a cigar made. How many pairs of hands get involved into that? I think it's more than 200, 250 pair of hands get involved into producing a cigar, with all the restrictions that exists as well.
I mean, it's incredible how much of a manifestation, or should I say, how much of Cuba and the people of Cuba, right? And I think, unfortunately, in kind of this climate, it's so, I mean, it's unfortunate to see people, associate any opinions that they have kind of with the government or the political system here with the cigars. It's because the cigars have really nothing to do with it. I mean, this is truly and exclusively a manifestation of the country's people, the country's history, and the country itself, the land, the terroir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And what a remarkable tool for fraternity, for bringing people together. I think if the Taino Indians, as legend says it, could have foreseen that this bunch of leaves grown on this island would eventually bring so many, dare I say, hundreds of millions of people together.
Indeed.
As friends.
Yeah.
To experience these precious moments in life. I mean, is there anything more we need?
Yeah, well, along those same lines, if more diplomacy was done over a proper cigar, the world would be a much more peaceful place. There's just something to a phenomenal cigar, the pleasure it brings, and the commitment to time and enjoying it in company.
It brings people together.
Bridges so many gaps.
Absolutely. Not only people, but fathers and sons. The amount of fathers and sons that we come across in our trade, in the shop, abroad, even here, is incredible. It's a bond of friendship. We always say this.
Yeah. Well, the number of people that, just even at your shop or just in my office, smoking, people I've met for the first time, that we're able to develop, really meaningful and real and authentic relationships just over the course of time that it takes to smoke a single cigar is quite remarkable.
If I know someone is a cigar smoker and you don't know them, I'm entirely confident recommending them to meet you, because we already know that there's a very important bond there.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain self-selection. I mean, someone that goes out of their way, to smoke a cigar, already espouses certain characteristics that, in this world could be considered, unique. You put them in each other's company and inevitably, it's always good company. And that's one of the things I think I've been most struck by. I say most. There's been so many that speaking in platitudes is probably not proper. But one of the things that I've certainly seen here is just how many of the people that have been coming back year and after year and after year have really become such good friends and look forward to seeing each other. Just walking through the lobby. It's. You two hardly make it through.
Well, in the course of last night and today, we probably bumped into friends that we've known for years and not seen them for years as well.
Yes, for us it's been 3 years since our last festival. Yeah. And in many cases it's been 3 years or longer we haven't seen these friends. Probably how you feel, Kirby, when you walk down the street in London.
Yeah, indeed. It's always so nice to return to someplace that one, remembers so fondly. This is my first moment, here in Cuba, but I hope it's the first of many, of course. And I can see how every single trip, you're just adding a layer onto, that memory that just adds depth and patina.
Kirby, my compliments on your shirt. That's a gorgeous Guayabera.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, you're wearing an incredible Guayabera also. We're all decked in our best linen, which in this hot, humid climate is
very
the only way to dress.
Exactly.
I've got a fedora. I've got a Monte Cristo, hat, or Panama Monte Cristo, just like you have. But
no, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Yours is by far better than the one I'm wearing now.
It's my special occasion hat. I travel very reluctantly with it, never around children. No, this was my first Guayabera that was a gift from a gentleman in Cabo San Luis that owns a clothing store there. This is made by a Mexican maker of the Guayabera. So I don't know all of the details of Mexican Guayaberas versus Cuban Guayaberas. I mean, you have a beautiful one on, but it's got the cigar pocket. That's the only pocket it has. You know, it's a beautiful shirt that
Beautiful.
I'm very
What a
proud to
lovely
be
color
wearing.
as well.
Oh, yes. I was very lucky. I can't remember which visit it was, but we were introduced to a gentleman called Senor Nelson, who operates in the Old Town. And I would say, to my knowledge, he's the preeminent Guayabera maker here in Cuba. And of course, this was from him. And if you have enough time and he's not too busy, he can make you up anything you want.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. He's one of the gentlemen we visited on our first day.
What a
In
character he is,
anticipation of
isn't
the
he?
fact
What
that I
a
needed some
character he
Guayaberas.
is. I hope you did film him as well.
We did. I mean,
His
you know, talk
workshop
about,
there.
yeah. Well, I mean, working out of his house, right? But doing this,
His wife,
you know,
his mother, they're all sewing there.
all in the back, and so he's working on 2 Guayaberas for me
Wonderful.
that I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that I'm able to receive before I leave. But if not, in due time.
Have you gone for long sleeve, short sleeve?
You know, I'm almost exclusively a long-sleeved shirt wearer. You know, I don't react well to the sun, so the less of it I can
The long
be
sleeve ones are
absorbed to,
much
the
more
better.
practical, to be honest.
Well, interestingly enough, counterintuitively, I find long sleeves to be cooler than short-sleeved shirts because you're not absorbing the radiant heat into your arms.
Yes.
You could always
or direct
fold it up.
sunlight. Yeah, and you know, if it's made from a nice linen, you know, it shouldn't necessarily be any warmer than a short-sleeved shirt.
And I think it reflects the correct formality. You know, in Cuba, I was told, long sleeve Guayabera is the equivalent of a black tie for us. It carries that level of formality and respect.
Yeah.
I think mine is, I guess, the equivalent of wearing a sports jacket, maybe, but
Perfect
still
for the
smart.
afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, we were at the opening of the Habanos festival, and the president came in, and of course, I mean, he was wearing a Guayabera. So, you know, whenever they say that it is truly an official, you know, article of clothing of Cuba and is worn formally, I mean,
That's
indeed
the
it
tuxedo.
is.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not reserved just for the beach.
Yes, that's right. I'm curious, how is your Behike smoking? The ash looks phenomenal.
I mean, look at this. Isn't that incredible?
With the lovely silvery ash it has.
Yeah. So I'm not much one of, you know, the nuanced flavors. You know, Nick Fowkes is a master at this. I mean, he can tease out, you know, notes that I didn't even know there were words to describe. I'm more of a texture person, and I can certainly say that the texture of the smoke is exceptionally smooth, and it's got a great flavor to it. I mean, not peppery, right? I find that if it's too harsh on the mouth, if it's got too much pepper, in many ways it's like a wine that hasn't had a proper time to age or decant. And this is smoking.
I think that's going to give you at least an hour of enjoyment, if not more.
You know, excuse me for not asking earlier, but Edward, what is it that you're smoking?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask. It's one of my favorite sizes of cigars. Eddie, we were having a walk yesterday here, and we visited the new Partagas shop, and Eddie picked up a box of the San Cristobal Principes. They're small size cigars, 42 ring gauge.
42?
No, it's 42 actually. But it's a lovely cigar.
Yeah.
And yesterday I overdid it. I smoked about 6 cigars yesterday, including one of my favorites, which is a Hoya de Monterrey double Corona, but this one was the Grand Reserva.
Ooh.
And I smoked it right to the end, and several more on top of that.
Yeah.
And so today I'm taking it a bit more easier, and this is my only third cigar today.
Well, you've
Yes.
exercised restraint.
I have, yes, yeah. And it's a beautiful cigar. It's mild, perfect draw. Although the box date was very recent.
We were very lucky. I think we found one which was a little bit older, but only by 6 months than,
Yes,
than the other boxes. So July 22 is the box date.
But also, when you look at the color of the ash on this as well, it's very nice.
Well, I don't want you to burn your fingers if you need another
No,
cigar.
with your
Do let
permission,
me
I shall
know.
remove the band now.
Edward, I so appreciate how you'd never waste even the slightest bit of a cigar that you're smoking.
No, to be honest, the most delicious part of any cigar is the last inch or two of the cigar.
Didn't, was it, who was it from, was it Dr. Schneider from Davidoff that would say that he would never smoke?
Yes, but I think one of the reasons was that it encouraged people to smoke more. To buy more and smoke more.
Well, I have to ask, you two gentlemen, Edward especially and Eddie, have been traveling to Cuba for the Habanos Festival for now decades. Edward, your first trip was what, in the late 80s?
It was 88.
88,
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And Eddie, your first trip was?
It was 97. It was the 30th anniversary of Cohiba.
Wow, unbelievable. And so one of the questions that we're trying to answer just kind of in this series as we're here in Cuba is the question of what makes a Habanos cigar one of the best cigars in the world. And I'm just curious what your opinions or insights are into that question, because there is a mystique to a Cuban cigar that is different than anything from a New World cigar. And it's one of those things that it's really hard to put your finger on exactly what makes this so different.
I think it's a combination of several elements. First, it's the sun, the soil, the terroir, the rain, and the people who are involved in putting it together. I've said this many times. It's the example of a chef. You give him a basic ingredients, and you give the same ingredients to an amateur like me, and what we produce with the same ingredients will be totally different. Cigars, it's been smoked, enjoyed for hundreds of years in Cuba. In the New World, it's a fairly new element there. 30, 40 years ago, there was hardly any other decent cigars being produced outside of Cuba. Give it another 30, 40, 50 years, it will be totally different. But having said that, as we are talking today, the cigars that are produced in the New World, some of them are phenomenal.
They really are,
Exceptional.
yeah.
not
Davidoff,
all
of
of
course,
them.
is a great example.
Yeah. But in Cuba, and not every Cuban cigar is a Cuban cigar. We shouldn't take it for granted as well. But the majority of the cigars that are made properly, it's got a delicious flavor to it. I don't know what you think, Eddie.
Oh, very much. I think you covered it very well, Dad. There was something else I was thinking about, because when we think about controlling the entire process, if we look across artisanal products, the ones that I think consistently deliver excellence are usually ones where one company, one person, one group is responsible across generations for the entire vertical process, putting that product together. Now, Cuba has a political backdrop which allows the state to run every element of the production of this cigar, which is rather unique. I think Davidoff and a few other cigar brands in the world are able to do the same thing, and it's taken a lot of investment and time to achieve that. Cuba's had that certainly since the revolution. And there was a moment when the perception of a Cuban cigar was that it was too bourgeois to be compatible with the current regime. But fortunately, I think they took a different view, And they realized that the cigar represents a crucial metaphor for the spirit and soul and quality of everything that is good about Cuba. And they kept it. And they've managed to take that and, of course, put it together from the very seed all the way to the distribution and retail under one umbrella. Yeah. And I think that's got to have something to do with it as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, I think it's, you know, every product that is done at a very high level, right? Whether it be haute couture or bespoke tailoring or shoemaking, winemaking, right? Even cheese in France. You know, oftentimes I find can only be fully understood as to how something like that can come to be within the social context in which it's created. You know, in France, you have a very rigid labor market. You know, people, you know, kind of have the guarantee in many ways of a job for life that allows them to specialize and to focus on one craft without concern for whether or not in 5 years, you know, they'll be doing something else. And I think that that's one of the reasons France is able to do these incredibly high quality luxury items, the winemaking, the cheese making, the tailoring, that's unique to the social climate. And in Cuba, I think, you know, as you mentioned that, in many ways is much the same. You know, would it be the same cigar if the revolution had never happened? You know, it's not a question for me to ponder, right?
I think there would certainly be perhaps more variety in quality. I think we would see that. And you know, touching back on what makes Cuban cigars so exceptional, it's also a unique flavor profile. And as consumers today, especially the new generation, the younger generation, we are so spoiled with the full gamut of flavor profiles that we can obtain from different origins. So my new cigar smokers, my younger generation of cigar smokers, their palates are open to Dominican tobaccos, Nicaraguan tobaccos, Ecuadorian tobaccos, Honduran tobaccos, and indeed Cuban tobaccos. Whereas earlier generations, I think there was a very clear distinction between if you wanted a good cigar, it needed to be a Cuban. Today, we are spoiled for choice. And I think Habanos, of course, a good Havana, still sits beautifully in that cradle of choice. And of course, when you're in Cuba, like rosé wine in Provence, nothing can taste better than smoking it here.
Yeah, indeed. So again, I mean, you two gentlemen have been traveling to Cuba for a long time. You know, we're in the lounge at the Kempinski, which is, you know, probably, you know, the nicest hotel in all of Havana, all of Cuba for sure. I mean, absolutely beautiful property. In the second floor cigar lounge, what a treat to be able to smoke inside.
Oh yes, and we have the comfort of the climate in the lounge, which is very cool and
which
beautiful.
At this hour is, I think, you know, quite important. You
yes.
know? I mean, because the evening time, there's also an absolutely magnificent rooftop terrace that I think has one of the most beautiful views that I've ever seen. I'm hoping that we can somehow, you know, work our political magic to be able to film up there one evening against that backdrop. But, you know, this is, I think, really where, you know, some of the heavyweights come to smoke is at this hotel.
Well, especially midday. It's not very comfortable smoking outdoors. We tried this morning by the swimming pool upstairs. It was warm, it was hot, and there was a unpleasant breeze coming as well. So it didn't make the cigar smoking that much enjoyable. Well, here it's completely different.
Yeah.
And the coffee is much nicer here.
Oh, yes.
I haven't been in the humidor yet, but how is it stocked?
It's a nice representation. You know, we faced many shortages globally, I think, in cigars. So seeing a well-stocked humidor in this lounge is a lovely thing to see.
Yeah. So what else are you looking forward to this week? I mean, well, it's the kind of the beginning of the festival. We still have several days ahead of us.
The highlight would be, of course, on Friday night, the festival, the gala dinner, which...
I was trying to hold on to that, but I lost it.
Yeah.
Nice cone, though.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, even this, look at it. I mean,
It's one of the great pleasures of smoking indoors is you can, the ash and the burn isn't as affected as it can be outside with the breeze.
Yes.
I think the highlight for me is the gala dinner. It's an opportunity to meet many more friends
Yeah.
that I know they're here, but we haven't had the chance to see each other yet.
Yeah.
To see who's going to be the Habanos Man of the Year for this year.
So talk to me a little bit about that because, at the welcome evening, they reviewed the Habanos awards for business, for production, and for communications, right? Is there a separate category for just the overall Habanos Man of the Year that was not presented then?
No, there's, I think they have 3, sometimes it's 4 categories, depends on the year.
Okay.
I haven't heard who the candidates are.
So they didn't present, so the Habanos Man of the Year is a separate,
No, it's part of the same ceremony.
it was part of the same ceremony, but it wasn't one of those 3 categories.
It was.
No, it is. So each of them, I mean, they say Man of the Year, but of course, there's women as well. And each one becomes a Habanos Man,
Person of the year.
woman,
Yes.
person of the year.
Hombre de Habanos.
Yeah. So were you in business then?
In the category of business, yes.
okay.
Commerce, I think they call it. And that was in 2017. My God, that's 7 years ago already. 6 years ago.
And what a coveted award. I mean, certainly just the honor of being recognized by Habanos.
Well, it's
is
an honor, it's a
remarkable.
privilege. And I have to add, with that award, you get given a choice of any box of cigar that you wish for the rest of your life, I've been told, so I'm putting them to the test. My choice was the Cohiba Lancero, which every year I've been receiving it.
And do you always receive that here, or is it...
It depends. If I'm here, I will receive it here. In the last 3 years where travel was restricted and there was no festival, it was sent to me.
Yeah. So how is your stockpile of these boxes? I mean, do you have them signed every year, and do you have a special...
I have 5 of them. Out of the 5, 2 of them are signed. The 3 of them were not signed because of the COVID period. This year, I'm looking forward to getting it signed. I've been promised that it will.
Okay.
We'll see whose signature will be on that.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke them. That's the problem. Once it's signed, it's there.
I know.
I don't touch it.
Well,
And Eddie's promised not to sell them as well.
that's incredible. Wow. I mean, what an annuity that continued to pay out.
You know what? I was thinking about that. Funny enough, we're very fortunate in England, in London. We have 4 of those trophies. The first one was awarded to Simon Chase,
Of course.
and then it was Gemma Freeman, and then
Nick Fowl.
Nick Fawkes, and the last one, or the latest one, was me. So there's 4 of those statues in London.
Wow.
I don't think there's any other country that has 4 in one place.
Well, I must, get the 3 of you together for a photograph on Friday night then. 'Cause it really is quite remarkable. And I think it speaks to the importance of the United Kingdom, that market for Habanos. Because, I mean, the UK is, and especially Hunters and Frankau, Gemma, her father, her,
This is the
grandfather.
6th generation.
Have played a very important role in helping influence, nudge, or shape, the direction of Habanos and Cuban cigars.
It's very unique, completely unique situation.
Oh, yes.
It would be very nice if you could organize, get the 3 of us together. Unfortunately, Simon is not with us any longer, but he will be up there looking down
Yes,
with a big
indeed, he
smile
will
on
be.
his face.
He will be correcting every mistake we make on our discussion of the cigars.
I mean, that's another gentleman. I mean, how long had he been in the cigar industry?
He started in the early years when I had opened the shop. We started more or less the same time. I think he joined Hunters and Franco It was 78, 79 as a part-time job. He was involved in political, he was a counselor at one point as well. And then he slowly put that aside and devoted all his time from 1980 onwards.
Yeah. What was it like back in the 90s? I mean, you know, traveling to Havana. I mean, was the annual kind of trip, you know, the festival,
No.
was it anything like it is today?
Nothing like that. There was no festival, there was nothing. I think it was in 1988. There was a group of retailers were invited to come to Cuba to visit the plantation, the factories.
And was that the first time that they had officially extended that
Yes.
invitation?
That was the first time, as far as I know, and it was from London. We were 6, perhaps 7 retailers. We were invited there. It was myself, it was Desmond.
Desmond Souters?
Desmond Souter, yes. There was Tony Anderson from Fox's. Oh God, I forgot the names of it.
Was Robert Lewis represented?
Robert Lewis, yes,
Was
very
Michael
much so.
there?
Yeah, Michael Crowley, yes. Lucy, who works in the shop, her grandfather.
Wow.
Yeah, we were all on that same trip, and it was a completely different. We were. It was the equivalent of royalty visiting the subjects. You know, every factory we walked in, everybody would come and welcome us. Although we're still very much welcome now, but then it was a rarity.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. But the festival, it only started in the 90s. The first one, which was the equivalent of the festival, it was in the Tropicana. It wasn't named as a festival. And that's the one that Fidel Castro came and he visited the festival.
And didn't you win one of the humidors from that year?
Well, I bid for it and I got it. Yes, yes. Otherwise, we've done well. It was on one of your shows. We presented that. It was a beautiful box of the Cohiba 30th anniversary. It was signed by Fidel Castro.
What was it? It was
himself.
it was a Cohiba like Gigantico.
It was a Gran Corona
Gran
size,
Corona.
which is-
size.
Yeah.
which is like the Monte Cristo A equivalent.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable cigar.
There was, I don't know, well, there was 35 of them, I think, were made.
Was it 30 or 35? I think you got number 30.
I've got number 30, which is signed, but there's a few extra were made for the museum and one or two display items.
And did they sell them at the event, or were they all bid on? And
No, only the one that was signed was put onto the auction there.
Oh, okay.
And then Fidel Castro, before the auction was done, he did a short speech, 15 minutes, thanking everybody for coming to this gathering, because all the money was going to the charity, as it always does. But after the bidding, within half an hour, over $1 million was collected, and he came and gave a 1 hour, 15-minute speech purely about the love of a cigar. And it was wonderful to hear that.
I can't imagine. Do you think you'll be bidding on anything this Friday?
I will be bidding, but I don't think I'll be winning anything.
I mean, it's
The
really
demand is, I know, so great. I mean, it's not thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
It's not hundreds of thousands. We're talking
millions.
into millions now. Absolutely.
I mean, what did because the most recent festival, if you will, was the Cohiba 55th anniversary, which was what, in October of last year?
I think September, yes.
September.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't recall specifically, but how much did that humidor go for? And the concept of these humidors, I mean, that really, understates what these are. I mean, these are massive
I mean, when
works
we
of
talk
art.
about humidor, we talk about those box. No, nothing
No.
like that. I mean, they're cabinets.
I don't even know
Huge.
how they transport these things.
They're practically a shop.
No, they
Each
are.
humidor has hundreds of cigars inside.
500, 600
Yes.
cigars.
Yeah, wasn't the one at the 55th 500 cigars?
Yep.
Unbelievable.
I think there might be one like that this year as well. I haven't seen the catalog yet.
Yeah. Huh. Well, we've got so much to look forward to. And hopefully this is just one of many cigars that we're able to enjoy in each other's company this week.
That's why I said that's for me, the highlight of this trip will be the gala evening.
Yeah, indeed. Edward, Eddie, as always, thank you so much for your friendship first and foremost.
Thank you.
And for sharing your passions with me. I mean, that is truly life's greatest luxury, is sharing passions with one another. I'm reciprocating in a small way with Eddie at the moment with his bespoke creation that we've started with Simon Cundy at Henry Poole. And I'm looking forward to coming back to London to see this project continue.
For his fitting.
For his fitting. And I think we'll probably have several ahead of us.
I'm so excited.
And I've got a few other ideas kind of percolating in the back of my head of how we can complete this project.
You have to do something with the Panama hat.
Oh, the Panama hat's amazing. Yeah. I actually had a gentleman at Monday night's welcome reception or welcome party come up and comment on it. I mean, this is from Optimo Hats in Chicago, which is an incredible, hat making company.
I would love to visit them. Do they have a showroom?
They do. So they've got a beautiful showroom in the Monadnock building in Chicago. And I mean, they have the most beautiful hats you've ever seen. I mean, all exquisitely made. Their factory is a restored firehouse that was built in like the 1930s. Beautifully restored. All of the vintage equipment and machines that they use have been, look better than they must have new. And they really do magnificent work. I've got
On our visit to you in Dallas, we will make sure we do a stopover in Chicago.
Well, we should.
Perhaps you could fly over as well.
We'll
meet up from
pleasure.
there.
I'll meet you at your first port of entry.
You will choose a hat for me.
Yeah. We need a grand tour, I think, starting in New York, maybe going to Chicago, down to Dallas, and then I understand that you've got family in California.
Yes, in Los Angeles.
So you must go see them.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully by then the house will be done. We'll be able to smoke in the living room. Enjoy a nice cigar indoors.
To hear from you when it's ready.
We cannot wait.
But until then, we'll continue to enjoy, of course, Davidoff of London and this incredible atmosphere that is Havana, Cuba.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure, a privilege to be in your company, always, wherever, but here in particular.
Edward, thank you.
Thank you.
Eddie.
My dear Kirby, thank you so much. You are the cherry on the icing on the cake that is the Havana Festival.
Well, I'm flattered. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm just happy to be here. So, thank you, gentlemen. Truly a dream come true, being here in Havana. I'm so happy to be able to share it with everyone that's watching on the channel, of course. And as we explore the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition of a proper Habano cigar.
And my cigar lasted just right.
Just to the
I should leave it here to die respectfully.
Any more than that, you'll be burning your fingers. If you relight that, you burn your nose hairs, right?